Hey everybody, thank you for calling A1 Math. And today we're reviewing um, linear regression, and we'll take a look at our first example here. All right, so we've got a table that shows the population of a small town for each year from 2003 to 2010. Okay, so we got the year, which is our x values, and the population, which is our y values. And the question asks for us to determine the linear regression equation for the data. And it wants to round the slope and the y-intercept to the nearest whole number. Now, to do this, you're going to need your calculator. And we're going to input some values, and it'll tell us our equation. So let's take a look at the example here. First thing I want to do is label these. Since it's a year, we usually do this for years, but label these starting with 0 and going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, now these are going to be the values I actually put in for my x. And let me show you the calculator here. The way you do that is by hitting Stat and clicking on Edit. Then it'll show your actual values over here. And you can put your x values in on L1 and put your y values here on L2. Once you do that, you can go back to Stat, tab over to Calculate, and then hit 4 for linear regression. Then you'll see over here where it says L1, X list L1, Y list L2. All you want to do is just tab all the way down to where it says calculate and then hit enter. All right, and then once you do that, you'll have this data right here. And this is how we get our equation. Okay, we start off with the y equals mx plus b, but instead of m, they have an a. Then they give us the value for A, which is 389.57, but they want us to round to the nearest whole number, so we'll make that 390. The B is going to be 21,855. And we have that R. That R is going to be important later. I'm going to come back to that. So I'm going to change the Y to a function of X. So I got Y equals f of X. And all I'm going to do is plug in my A, which is going to be 390, and my B, which is 21,855. And I simply got that for my A here and B here. Exact same numbers for my calculator. So this would be your equation. Okay, now the next part of that question, um, it wants us to determine the linear regression equation for the data. Oh, I'm sorry. This is that equation. I just wrote it again. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is actually um, find the correlation coefficient and tell what that means. Well, remember I mentioned that R, that's the correlation coefficient. So let me show you that on the calculator again here. Right there, that 0.9423, that's your correlation coefficient. Okay. Now, the closer it is to 1 or -1, the stronger the correlation. And with this being zero point 0.9, that's pretty close to 1. So it's going to be a strong correlation. What that means is when we estimate values down the road based on the information given, we'll get a pretty accurate estimate. Okay, now next it wants me to predict the population for the year 2020. Okay, well, we've already started the list of numbers and we went all the way up to 2010, and with that being 7. And since 2020 is 10 years from 7, the X value we want to plug in is going to be 17. So then we go back to our equation, and we got the f of x is equal to 390x plus 21,855. So we're just going to go ahead and plug in that x value in, which is 17, and just do the regular arithmetic. 390 times 17, 6,630. And we add that with 21,855, and that gets us 28,485. So that'd be the estimation in the year 2020. Okay. Thank you for checking out A1 Math. And again, this is linear regression.